Challenge.
Right, okay, so last week I introduced the new project for May, which is moving towards abstraction. So the idea is to do something that is slightly less naturalistic, something more kind of stylised. This was an exercise that we did first in 2011, according to the archive, and then we also had another go in 2017. So the basic idea is it's looking at Cubism. So I introduced this as an idea last week. Cubism, if you're familiar with Cubism, was a style of art invented by Picasso and Braque, and they had this idea of kind of working with multiple. So this is more like your classic Cubism. It looks very, very fragmented, and often they're based on still life painting. So this was painted well over 100 years ago. Not that many colours, so it's not, fairly minimal colours. And then these are more of a development of Cubism. They're slightly more understandable. So this would be based on like a violin, and I think this is a violin or guitar, maybe a few other objects as well. All sorts of different textures, but basically things look a bit more fragmented. So this exercise I got out of a book many years ago, and I've used this quite a number of times over the last 20 years. So it's to give you a sort of feel of Cubism. Okay, so we're working from observation, but rather than just sitting and doing a one viewpoint drawing, we're going to move around a little bit. Or the other thing we could do is, if it's not physically possible for us all to move around, I could see if we've got any boards and set this still life up on a board and just rotate it. That'd be another way of doing it. Fair enough, because it might be tricky. I didn't think of this before. So that's the one out of the book, and that's the example that they've given. So I'll do a little drawing. So I'll use this setup just because it's near to me. So to start with, you have one tool thing that you pick. So we could take, if needs be, if you wanted the candlestick tool thing, that one, and the bottom, that one. You can change your still life if you want. So the idea is you draw a bottle, and I'm just going to pretend I'm just going to do straight face on. That's not really the bottle. So I will draw, so it's a bit wonky. So that can be the bottle. I draw that once, I can see a label there, I'll pop a bit of label in. And to start with, you're just having to go at a line drawing. Okay, so you're not going to worry about tones, colours. And then what I can also see there is the jug. So I'll draw that in. So I'm seeing that something like this. Seeing the handle coming out here. Going something like that. I'll draw that around. So maybe get a couple of things in. Perhaps I'll get the sort of line there. And the idea is just get some interesting shapes, really. So you don't have to pick everything and draw everything. Then what I might do then is move position. So I think I'll just move that way, just because it's going to be hard to do. See if I can possibly move that way. Right, okay. So I've got a different viewpoint. Mate, you should be right. Just move this so that this moves too. Hopefully takes in. Yeah, that's good. That's that. So I can now see. Actually, I'm going to move something, an object. Let's put this in front. Yeah, you can do it. You can just improvise. If it doesn't work, just change it around. So what I can see now is a bottle in front of us. want to try and get a sense of something overlapping a little bit. So we've got this bottle here. So it's quite a stout bottle, and that's coming around like that. I mean, don't worry too much about proportions and things like that. The thing is to get an interesting setup. So you maybe draw that. There might be something else. Perhaps I could do another object over here. Really. Let's that's lovely. Yeah, that'd be great. So we could do with so I can now see a little bit of that jar there. And then what you're going to get then is some quite interesting sort of over, and then we've got a flower in here, is it like a shell flower? So that adds a nice contrast, a nice texture. And you basically just keep drawing until you feel you've got an interesting amount down. We've got these shapes. And there's a few little bowls. Yeah, so you just keep going, keep moving around, perhaps do it 2 or 3 times. Don't need to draw everything every time. It depends how much you want to overlap. And then once you've got there, you could then put some tones in. So it might be that I need a few more things overlapping here, perhaps a little bit more here. So perhaps move again, and maybe bring a few more objects in, take a few objects out. The important thing is to get something interesting happening here. It's not to be too religiously slaving to copy exactly what's there. So that's what you do. And then from there, you could then maybe perhaps add a little bit of tone. Maybe I'll get that bit quite dark. I might like to leave the label light. You could just do this in black and white, or if you want to go colour, this bit here, maybe where it overlaps, I'll tone that in. So to come up with an interesting, slightly abstract design. It sort of looks like bottles and jugs, but it also looks like just light and dark shapes. So that's my demo. Now, very kindly.
The tallest thing stays.
Yeah, the tallest thing is like your anchor. Yeah.
You leave that.
So the idea is you perhaps just draw that once, and then the other things along the time. But don't worry too much about it. Now, very kindly, Mal and Liam have brought examples in. So, great. So this was from when we first did this exercise back in 2011. So nearly 14 years ago. So that's what we did there.
So what colours are they?
So the colours are just improvised colours.
Acrylic.
It doesn't really matter anything. It could be acrylic or watercolour. Yeah, as long as it's some sort of colour. So that one looks like acrylic or watercolour. This one is from a couple of years later. So this is 2017 set up.
I don't know what that is.
So again, this is pastel. So this would be easy to draw pastel. If anybody wants to have a go at pastel, I've got loads of pastels up there. Pastel is quite a nice medium because it's quite nice and instant. And then this is a watercolour version, again from that year, 2017. And we have a look at wings. Yep. So, yeah, right. So again, these sorts of ideas, but you can kind of see recognisable shapes, apples maybe, jugs, bottles, but they slightly merge into each other and become more of a decorative. I think I might have a cup actually in the box down there. So 1 or 2 of these objects I've got. But I think you can see like the cup appears there, then it also appears there. That looks like the same jug as that jug. So sometimes you kind of do multiples. So the main thing is just come up with something fun and interesting. Don't worry too much about rules and things. See what you come up with.
So how long do you want to do the move round?
I don't know, just as long as it takes.
Okay, so it's not like right now.
I mean, maybe Brilliant. Right, I've got this.
It's the other one that's